Hello, and welcome back to the Lexi's podcast. I'm in Mozambique, and I can really wish everybody a Happy Christmas Eve, or was it Merry Christmas Eve? I don't even know what it is. Anyway, here we are. As promised, this episode is about M&As. So, what is the M&A about? Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers. It's about that. So, you see, when I first heard about this one, when I first started seeing it happen, what was it? It was like late November, early December, and I was like, what is going on? Mind you, I didn't necessarily study mergers and acquisitions, but obviously I know about them. So, when I first started seeing it, I said, sorry, Netflix is trying to buy out Warner Brothers. I'm like, wait a minute. This sounds strange. For $72 billion? Hold on. Then Paramount came into the picture like, we're going to give, what was it, like 107? And I'm like, yeah, 108.4 billion. And I was like, what is literally happening? Like, that is... How will this end? What type of bidding war is this? Is this even legal? Like, those are the questions that I will be answering in this podcast episode. Because honestly, every time you see something like this is such a huge merger. It's kind of like, this is insane. Like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, how is this being allowed to happen? Or was it, what was that other one? It was like, it was AT&T and Time Warner, AOL, like also back in the day. And it's like, it's giving too big to fail. Like, these are things that just don't make sense to me as a regular tegular. I will try my best to dissect this as much as possible for you, listener, because I know that you care about these things too. I know that you, like myself, are very much concerned when things like this happen. Because you then start thinking to yourself, is this a monopoly? Is this like how much more can we get screwed is basically like what comes to mind when I like hear things like this. Because I'm just there like, no, guys, like we can't keep getting taken advantage of by these corporations. And mind you, even though I'm in Mozambique at the moment, this M&A will still affect me as a consumer of Netflix. And as a consumer, I'm not really on HBO Max, so that doesn't really matter to me. But as a consumer of somebody who watches Warner Brother Discovery made movies, for example, because this is just giving bad vibes. It's giving bad vibes. It's giving, this is not a good idea. That is all I can really say about this. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is not giving it a good idea. And like, to do this episode, I have researched like so much and I still don't understand it. So this is what I mean by that. I'm gonna try my best to dissect it, not only for you listener, but also for myself. So, and again, this is the Lex and Liz podcast. Like, Lex is the law, M&As, law related. This is what we're gonna try and figure out. That's what we're doing. I want to sort of just like dive right in and then see where we get to. So, next segment. And we're back. I think primarily I want to define what a merger and acquisition is, what an M&A is. So, according to Gemini, because I always be using AI. I always use AI when I can. This is according to Gemini. This is not a legal definition. This is according to Gemini. Merger and acquisitions refer to business transactions where companies combine either by merging into a new entity or one company buying another to grow market share or become more efficient. A merger usually means two similar-sized companies join to form a new one, while an acquisition is when a larger company purchases and absorbs a smaller one. These strategic moves consolidate assets and operations, often leading to greater market power, expanded product lines, or entry into new markets. So, when I was doing research, in terms of like hierarchy of entertainment industry, streaming and stuff like that, in terms of entertainment companies, Comcast is the biggest. Then Warner Brothers Discovery is the fourth biggest. Netflix is the fifth. Then you have Paramount Global, which is like a Skydance corporation. Cool. It's like Paramount Skydance. Cool. In terms of streaming, Netflix is the biggest. Then it's Amazon. Then it's HBO Max, which is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery. So in this context, what happened was that Netflix made a bid to buy the film and streaming businesses of Warner Brothers Discovery for $72 billion, which really shook up Hollywood. It really shook up Hollywood. They were shook. They were shook. So essentially, what you're hearing is that Netflix, number one streamer, made a bid to buy number three, HBO Max, aka Warner Brothers Discovery. But then you have to start looking at what did they want to buy? What are they buying within that? Are they buying the studios? Are they buying the streaming? Like, what is this merger really about? What is this M&A really about? Because in terms of streaming, it's an acquisition. In terms of mergers, in terms of everything, if you combine everything else, similar sized companies joining up, then it would be a merger. So it's just an M&A in total. So this deal basically means that Netflix will take control of some of the most iconic entertainment franchises in the world, including Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, DC Comics, HBO Max, and it will essentially beat out rival bidders like Comcast and Paramount Skydance. Because what ended up happening is that early December, even in October, I think what happened was that October, there was an initial bid made by Paramount to buy Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers said, piss off, no. They said, go away. Then December rolls around, Netflix makes a bid. They're like, this would be a great idea. So then for that week, Paramount that gets involved and is like, oh, but what you're doing is a monopoly. But then Netflix countered and is like, no, what you're doing is a monopoly. And it's like, in the end, Netflix won. Right? Okay. We got that out the way. Netflix leadership says this acquisition is about the future of storytelling. So the co-CEO described it as a rare opportunity to combine Warner Brothers' century-long legacy with Netflix's global streaming power, and Netflix believes that the merger will help it dominate the next era of entertainment. You see, as a regular consumer, these are not words that I like to hear. No. Most importantly, Warner Brothers Discovery films will still be released in cinemas, and its TV studio will continue producing content for third parties. Netflix, however, will keep its original productions exclusive to its platform. Netflix also expects to save between $2 to $3 billion by cutting overlapping jobs and technology costs. So, when you have a merger, people are going to lose their job. Because what the problem is now is that people are not happy about that. Like, obviously not, because it's like, you guys want to now do this a big elaborate thing and join up forces and dominate the market and have more powerful market share, but somebody's gonna lose from this, right? So apparently the Writers Guild of America strongly opposed the deal, warning that it could lead to job losses, lower wages, worse working conditions, higher prices for viewers, and less diverse content. The cinema industry also raised some alarm, saying that the merger could seriously damage movie theaters worldwide. Technically, the deal still needs to be approved by the FTC, which is the competition regulators, or like, I mean, in the UK, we call them competition laws. In the US, they're called antitrust laws. So yeah, those are regulated by the FTC, and their purpose, which we'll get into, is basically to like prevent stuff like this from happening. Like, basically, they have to prevent stuff like this from happening. So even though the deal was done, there's no guarantee it's going to be like, it's going to happen. Like, it's going to be like accepted, right? And some analysts are saying that this merger could reorient Hollywood, potentially leading to fewer films and TV shows being made and higher subscription prices for consumers. As part of the process, Warner Brothers will split its business into two. Netflix will acquire the streaming and studios division, while the cable networks like CNN, Discovery channels will form a new company called Discovery Global. So, okay, this is what I wanted to understand for a very long time. So Netflix is purchasing streaming and studios division. So it's like, it's purchasing like HBO Max and then the movie making side of it. It's not purchasing the like other businesses that Warner Brothers Discovery has within it, because I remember, I think, yeah, Warner Brothers and Discovery is also merged, and then this is what, and then and it ended up doing this happening. So now I guess they're unmerging. They are splitting up, they're unmerging. So that's now going to become a completely different company. Again, how does that make sense? I don't understand. That is way deeper. So it's like, in summary, if you think about it, this article, this is by BBC, by the way. BBC says, this is a bold power move by Netflix that should reshape the entertainment industry for decades, but whether it benefits creators, cinemas, and viewers is still very much up for debate. And this is what I mean by, will the FTC even allow this to go through? Will they even allow this to go through? Because it's like, from my perspective, I'm like, surely this ain't, right? This doesn't even make sense. Like, also, how can you, this is another thing which doesn't make sense to me. So when they were making this bid, it was mainly for the streaming and the studio. It wasn't for other things that are also part of Warner Brothers Discovery. This is what I mean by something here is super weird, because it's like, how are you making a bid for a company, but then it's like, okay, but I want you to split your company in two? Does Discovery want this? This is what I don't understand. That sounds like there's something beneath this, like, and that's what I tried so hard to like figure out, and that I haven't been able to figure out myself. And that's why even now I'm still like racking my brain around this. I'm like, how does this make sense? How does this make sense, not only on a legal front, but on a business front? Like, in what ways is this beneficial? Did Discovery want to split from the studios and the streaming, or did they want to go do something else? You see, these are things that I wonder when I do my research on certain things. I definitely like sit here and rack my brain, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is why I said it's going to be a thing where you and I, the listener, are going to be going through this together for us to truly understand what it is that is happening here specifically. Because from my perspective, this is insane. And it's insane because it goes back to that thing of, well, we're going to get to that, but it's like, in terms of streaming, Netflix number 1, HBO Max number 3. How is number 1 and number 3 merging together? And is that legal? Hello? Let's move on to the next segment and explain how we even got here in the first place. Like, okay, the deal's been done, but like, how did we get here? And we're back. Let's talk about the bidding war that happened, essentially. So, Warner Bros. Discovery officially told its shareholders to reject the Paramount Skydance bid of $108 billion and choosing instead to back the $72 billion deal with Netflix, which is a decision that added yet another dramatic twist to this corporate battle. Of course, Paramount claimed that its bid was superior, especially given its higher price tag, but Warner Brothers basically unanimously disagreed. And in legal filings, the board said that Paramount's proposal carried significant financial and regulatory risks, while Netflix's offer was better financed, more clearly structured, and delivered stronger long-term value for shareholders. When I was watching a video about this, it was a thing where Netflix came through and was like, hey, we're buying Warner Bros. Discovery. A week later, Paramount's like, what you're doing is a monopoly. We're going to buy it instead. Clearly, then, within that week, Warner Brothers Discovery was like, no, we're taking Netflix's deal. So, how did this even start? Warner Brothers put itself up for sale in October after receiving interest from multiple buyers, including Paramount. I think it was also Comcast, which is the biggest entertainment company. Also, on December 5th, it confirmed an agreement to sell its film and streaming businesses to Netflix. And Netflix welcomed the board's recommendation, with their co-CEO calling the merger superior and firmly in shareholders' best interest, stressing that it would be with less regulatory uncertainty. From what I've read, this is coming from several articles. There was one from a this is coming from CNN as well as from BBC and just your typical legacy media, essentially. So they said that Netflix's board welcomed the recommendations, with the co-CEO calling the merger superior and things of that nature. And then a key difference between the two bids is the scope. Netflix only wants Warner Brothers movie studio and HBO and its vast content library, which is stuff like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Friends, Monsterverse, things of that nature. Then that would leave cable networks such as CNN, TNT to be spun off into a separate company, which was Discovery Company. Cool. Paramount, in contrast, wanted to buy the whole of Warner Brothers, including the television networks. And which is funny because that would then have put it in competition with its own channels like CBS, MTV, and Showtime. I don't understand why that would even be a thing. How were they thinking? So then, like I was explaining, just a week after Netflix's deal was announced, Paramount Skydance responded with a fresh offer for the entire company, signaling that the fight is far from over. Any takeover is expected to face close scrutiny from competition regulators like the FTC, and then just generally the CGU as well, because that is extremely anti-competition. And those go against European competition laws. So I don't even know how that would have worked both in the US and the EU. Because the concern here would have been consolidation and reduced consumer choice. Right? Right. Within that, there's also been growing resistance within Hollywood. The Writers Guild of America also called the merger to be blocked, arguing it would cut jobs, lower wages, and a reduction in the volume and diversity of content available to audiences. So while Warner Brothers made its preference clear, the streaming wars and the struggle over one of Hollywood's most iconic studios is still very much alive. That is how it happened. I'm explaining it as if it was happening in this moment. No, they went on Netflix. I think in their heads, they thought it was easier to just split Warner Bros. Discovery in two and be like, okay, you take the movies and the studio and the streaming, Netflix, and then the rest becomes the rest. I don't know. I think it's slightly uncomfortable. I think that is what it is. It makes one uneasy, especially in this 2025 where things are already so uncertain in terms of like the economy. So every day, whether you work or you don't work, or you're in between jobs, or you're doing a side hustle, or you are a gig worker, I think anyone who isn't millionaire, billionaire, you're really struggling. So when you see like multi-billion-dollar companies do stuff like this, even though you don't understand, like even if it can be someone who doesn't understand like mergers and acquisitions, you can sit down and be like, hold on, you're number one, you're number three, y'all want to link up? No, that doesn't sound right. And they can promise a whole bunch of stuff to us, like, oh no, this deal is specifically for this and this, but at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like this is going to be a good thing for the consumer, in my opinion. Because if they control so much of the market share, then how are they not going to be able to like price gouge and decrease the quality of stuff, cut costs, put those costs onto us, the consumer, things like that, which just don't make sense. And not only that, but it's like also for the people that work there, it's like once you merge a company, you have to do a lot of restructuring. Restructuring means people get fired. And it's like, you're going to cut people's jobs. There's going to be, I don't know if this is a positive thing. I think that's what it is. I think I'm coming from a place where I'm like, I don't know if this is a positive thing. And on Netflix's official website, it says, transaction unites Warner Brothers' iconic franchises and storied libraries with Netflix's leading entertainment services, creating an extraordinary offering for consumers. Netflix to maintain Warner Brothers' current operations. Combination will offer more choice and greater value for consumers, create more opportunities for the creative community, and generate shareholder value. Acquisition will strengthen the entertainment industry. I want to see it. I currently don't believe it. I really don't buy it. Oh my god, that's crazy. Sorry, I just saw something in the background, or something just happened in the background. I was like, oh my god, that's crazy. I'm being distracted. I don't see it as a good thing. I don't think it's gonna be what they say it is. I think Netflix already had a plan to increase prices next year, 2026. And now with this, if the FTC approves it, which, to be honest, it might not be approved for a while, because the legal ramifications of this is, we don't even know currently if it's legal. I think that's what it is. I think that is where the issue lies. Will the FTC be like, yeah, go ahead, do it? They might be like, no. They might be like, no, this is not appropriate. So I think with this one, it's really one of those where you just have to wait and see. I think that's really what you got to do here. Next segment. And we're back, and we are in the most exciting part of the segment of this here podcast. Is this legal? Hello? This is based off of a article by Roger Martin that he wrote on Medium, and he essentially says that at first glance, Netflix moved to acquire Warner Brothers might look like another risky Warner deal, like Time Warner, AT&T. But this time, the strategy is very different. This isn't about flashy theories like vertical integration or owner economics. It is straight consolidation play. Netflix is bulking up its two core businesses, streaming and content creation. Netflix began as a distributor, revolutionizing streaming by licensing content from studios like Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Universal. But around 2011 onwards, streaming platforms started producing their own content. Netflix is now a major player in both distribution and production, but it's no longer dominant. In the US alone, Netflix still leads with around 81 million subscribers, but Amazon and Disney are close behind. When Disney platforms are combined, Disney already beats Netflix domestically. Globally, Netflix leads, but the gap is narrowing. By acquiring Warner Brothers, including HBO Max, Netflix regains the upper hand. It jumps ahead of Disney in the US and massively extends its global lead, turning a competitive market back into one where scale clearly favors Netflix. The same logic applies to content creation. Netflix helps trigger a boom in spending on original content, but on its own, it still lagged behind giants like Disney and Comcast. Adding Warner Brothers productions spending pushes Netflix into a top tier of content creation almost overnight. From a pure business strategy, Mr. Martin says that the logic is simple and powerful. Scale matters, and this gives Netflix more of it fast. Okay. So they're thinking, we're able to scale and we're able to be way ahead of our competitors. I get you. We're not only able to scale streaming, but also the content that we create. A lot of like Netflix original content. A lot of content will now be Netflix original content or like under Netflix, which is crazy. Yeah. Things are crazy. That's all I can say. Oh, this is insane. How this is legal again, I'm not sure. I fear. He continues to go on to say, here's the problem. Netflix claims the merger will give consumers more choice and create more opportunities for creatives. Critics argue that's simply not true, what I was saying earlier. When you eliminate a major competitor, you don't increase choice, you reduce it. And when you remove a buyer from the market, creators face fewer options, not more. This is exactly why regulators should be concerned. Unlike Time Warner, AT&T mergers that were widely expected to fail, this one might actually succeed, and successful consolidation is what can hurt competition. So there's a chance that the FTC will allow this to go through. How? Netflix's real motivation isn't consumer benefit or creative freedom. It's reducing competition, pressure, and increasing bargaining power over talent and pricing. That may be smart business, or pretending otherwise risks undermining its credibility. So whatever they were promising on their website, which they wrote there, obviously it's not true, because clearly you guys just want to dominate the market, which we get it. That's something you want to do. It's a good business strategy. It's a good business move. But don't do it under the guise that you're going to like make it, create more creative opportunities for creatives. That's a tongue twister right there. Create more creative opportunity for creatives. Yeah, that's a tongue twister. That's def a tongue twister. Oh Lord. Yeah, I don't think we can sit here and pretend like that's what they're trying to do, or be like, oh yeah, this will give consumers way more choice on our streaming services. Not really. Not really. So, according to this article, what is the key takeaway? This deal is misguided, strategically sound, but also raises serious antitrust law questions. And this is what I was saying earlier. This don't make no damn sense. And it's a reminder to be skeptical of corporate narratives. Another thing I was saying earlier is like, don't believe the hype. No, this is not going to be good for you, like for us as consumers. In media mergers, the real story is often about power, scale, and who gets squeezed when competition disappears. People are going to lose their jobs. We're going to get squeezed out of more money. Because they're going to say, oh yeah, but we're giving you guys more options and more choice. No, sir. You guys are just greedy. Is this legal? Regulators, FTC, Federal Trade Commission, will scrutinize the mergers for antitrust concerns with Warner Brothers Discovery, believing both bids could pass. Though Netflix's smaller scope not taking cable, this is what I was explaining earlier about. Netflix's deal seems like the scope, I think that's why probably they didn't take it, because it felt less risky, because it's like, okay, you guys are just buying this and this, like streaming and the studio, which is what they want, like content creation as well as streaming. they didn't want the rest, which is the cable network. So, fair enough. Antitrust laws or competition laws are government regulations. We have to explain that. If you are confused, antitrust laws or competition laws are government regulations designed to promote fair competition in marketplace by preventing monopolies, price fixing, and other anti-competitive practices, ensuring businesses compete openly for consumers' benefits through lower prices, more choices, and greater innovations. Which is exactly what is not happening here. Like, how does this deal protect consumers? How is this for the Sherman Act, Clayton Act, and FTC Act? How does this... We're going to get into the law because now, see, these are things that I'm still wrapping my head around. I'm like, the purpose... If the purpose of antitrust laws is to protect consumers, to prevent businesses from using monopoly power to charge excessive prices or reduce quality, as well as foster competition by ensuring a level playing field for businesses, encouraging innovation and efficiency, regulate economic power by controlling the concentration of economic power in large corporations. This deal screams this is against antitrust. To me, right? Or am I crazy? No, guys, I must be crazy. What do antitrust laws prohibit? Monopolization. A company using unfair tactics to maintain a monopoly. Having a monopoly isn't illegal, but if it's being maintained, it can be. Price fixing and collusion. Competitors agreeing to set prices or divide markets like territories or customer types. Bid rigging. Competitors coordinating bids to artificially inflate prices. Anti-competitive mergers. Mergers that substantially reduce competition or create a monopoly, guys. Unfair practices, discriminatory pricing, tying arrangements, forcing purchase of one product to get another. The Sherman Act of 1890, foundational law prohibiting contracts, combinations, or conspiracies in restraint of trade, monopolies, price fixing. Clayton Act of 1914 strengthened the Sherman Act, specifically targets mergers, price discrimination, and other practices. The FTC Act of 1914 established the Fair Trade Commission and banned unfair methods of competition. So, when I was continuing my research, I then asked several mediums, asked the internet, asked AI, read through different articles, and this is what was said. Yes, a Netflix purchase of Warner Brothers Discovery would likely face major antitrust scrutiny from the DOJ, so the U.S. Department of Justice, lawmakers, and the EU because it combines the number one streaming service with a major studio, HBO Max, potentially creating a near monopoly, limiting consumer choice, enabling massive price hikes, and reducing competition in the saturated streaming market. Regulators would focus on the combined market share, potentially over 30 or 40% of paid streaming, and the control of iconic content, DC, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, etc. And the significant power to dictate terms, leading to potential legal challenges and even blocking the deal. I mean, you see how earlier we were looking at how the market share was like 81 million subscribers in this case, and things like that, which I'm like, no, guys. If you're the number one streaming service and you combine yourself with the third, I don't know. Something feels wrong. This just feels wrong. Mind you, I was reading somewhere that it has to be about 30 to 40 or like 40 to 50% of the market for it to be considered a monopoly and like the maintenance of that monopoly. Now, I don't know once, you combine everything, if that will necessarily be the case where it's like, yeah, there's definitely a monopoly here, but all I know is that my gut feeling is telling me that surely this is not going to go through. I did hear, though, maybe this is a conspiracy, that like, since Donald Trump is in the White House and he's been wanting to split up CNN, that he might let the deal go through so that he can then like go for Discovery, which is basically like the cable company that will keep like CNN and the cable networks as part of this deal, to basically like get it into more like, I guess, Trump favorable ownership. Now. I'm not sure, but let's go to key antitrust concerns and arguments. Market dominance, merging Netflix with HBO Max, creating a behemoth, raising concerns about stifling competition from other players like Disney and Paramount Plus, for example. Price hikes and reduced choice. A combined entity can control content and pricing, forcing consumers into higher subscription fees, as seen with past mergers. You see, we're not going to win. So whatever they were saying is a lie. Content control over major franchises, DC, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, etc., gives immense power, affecting content availability and production. Regulatory benchmarks, a market share of over 34%, often triggers significant government intervention, regulators starting with the assumption that such a merger is illegal. You see, like, it hasn't even happened. Like, the ink is still fresh and people are already like, this one, no. How? No. Not a good idea. Legal challenges, lawsuits, like the class action filed by HBO Max customer, argue violations of the Clayton Act by substantially lessening competition. So, the FTC hasn't even approved the deal yet. But there's already a lawsuit in place. I don't even know how this is going to happen. This is what I mean. Like, I don't know if this is going to happen fully. Political opposition, lawmakers, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, have voiced serious concerns about monopoly power and consumer impact. Probably Bernie Sanders is going to have a lot to say. I think others might also have a lot to say because there's no way something like this can go through. If, mind you, we haven't seen the numbers yet, but if there's already an assumption that it's going to be 30 to 40% of market share, like, I think it's something we should be concerned about. But Netflix has a defense. Let's hear it. Netflix defense of potential outcomes. Netflix argues that the deal's pro-consumer focuses on growth, but regulators will scrutinize the actual market impact. The deal faces hurdles, with some predicting it might not close due to regulatory headwinds, potentially requiring divestitures of content or assets to appease regulators. So the ink is fresh. Haven't even made it a month. There's already problems. It's like you're already splitting the company basically in two because they're saying content creation, streaming, but then you aren't taking cable networks. Fine. But then at the same time, in order for this deal to go through, they might have to slash more things. This is just a mistake.com. Mistake.com. Have someone else just buy it. Someone who has nothing to do with anything, have them buy it. How about that? That's also an option. If Warner Brothers, if you guys are so, like, strapped for cash, have someone else buy you. Literally. Don't give yourself a headache. Don't hurt us consumers. Right? Give us more competition. Listen, I'm not like woohoo capitalism, but I don't like this either. This doesn't make sense. This is not how things are supposed to be. Next segment. And we're back. Just want to give some final thoughts, I also want to say, Happy Christmas Eve, Merry Christmas. I'll see you guys in the new year. That's really what I want to say. When it comes to this, I think this is just something we just have to look out for again. It's just one of those situations where it's like, let's watch and see how this ends. During the bidding war, we saw how that ended. They went to Netflix, cool. I think, had they gone for Paramount, I think that would have been a little bit crazy, and I definitely wouldn't have gone through, like, probably not. Like, lawyers in that building would have been like, this ain't illegal, this is not legal, no, stop. But now, I'm not sure. Now, this is something to look out for sure. This is crazy. I think, where was I reading something? I think I read also somewhere that, like, illegal illegal like streaming is back up, and I'm like, wow, who's surprised? Because I think for a while, like if you're on illegal websites, like that was really like hot during the day, like back in the day. But then, you know, with streaming, it's kind of like, oh, you know what? It's fine. I have everything here. It's all great quality. I don't have to like do the whole hassle of it, like, you know, having to like find a good website, try not to get like, what is it called? Try not to get like a virus, having to get ad blocks, things of that nature. So it's like, I think people really enjoy the convenience of streaming. But if you're going to charge me gang of money for Netflix, don't even bother. Not worth it. How much is, okay, I remember when Netflix was like $8. How much is it now? How much is it now? Depending on, okay, standard is $7.99. But then there's add one extra member. You see premium 24. No ad. I don't have a Netflix with ads, so maybe I'm on a premium. I'm shooketh. You see, it's all these different things where it's like, all these different plans. Nah, bro. And with this merger, they're just gonna say, oh, but look, we've added more things to the catalog. Of course we have to charge you more. My guy, you own the company. You're not paying extra money. Be serious. You'll see. Just watch. Listen, if you feel like you need to go back on streaming because you're strapped for cash, I won't judge you. I will not judge you. I'm also not a person who has like hella streaming services. I have friends who are like, yeah, I got HBO Max, I got Netflix, I got Disney Plus, and I'm like, no, what is it? Apple TV. No, it's not possible. You can't have all of those streaming services. Like, how are you affording it? That sounds like it's $100 a month on streaming. Like, no, we have to be serious as a community. Don't do that to yourselves. Anywho, what should you expect from the next podcast? I'm not sure, actually. We'll see what my brain comes up with for the next pod, honestly. But, yeah, I'll probably see you guys in the new year. Enjoy your holidays for those who celebrate. For those who don't, enjoy the time off. For those who are working, grind. Don't subscribe to Netflix if you don't want to, if you can't afford to. Don't force it. Don't clowner your Netflix also. That's also something that I should definitely talk about. Might be next week. If you're clowning your Christmas presents, I fear for your January. Yeah, maybe that's what I'm going to talk about next week. I found the topic. There we go. Easy. Anywho, like, comment, subscribe, all those beautiful things. I will see you in 2026. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Lexi podcast.